I spoke to TypeScript teacher Gabrielle Vergniaud about union types, and union types are tricky because, an object type in TypeScript, that's like an object in JavaScript. An array type in TypeScript, that's like an array in JavaScript. But what is the JavaScript equivalent of a union type? How do you explain that?
So to answer this question, we kind of to step back a little bit and try to understand what union types represent and how do we create them. And there is no way to create a union type, a union value like this doesn't exist, because union types just represent different possibilities your code might handle over time. So for instance, let's say I'm walking to the office. I really want a coffee, but I'm running a bit late. I have to make a choice. Like I see a coffee shop. Do I enter and grab a coffee, or do I just go straight to the office? As a person, I'm going to make a choice. I'm going to decide. And if I grab a coffee, I'm going to be late. If I keep walking, I'm going to be on time. But if you map that to some TypeScript code and you have a function that takes this action as parameter, from the perspective of TypeScript, like all of these possibilities exist simultaneously. And it's you have different parallel universes, and everything that can happen happens. So when you define a union type, I like to say, I know it's a bit silly, but I find it funny. I like to say that you create a multiverse, and suddenly those two things exist simultaneously. And from the perspective of TypeScript, it's really what happens, because this action, since we don't know what it is, we can just pretend that it's both. And if it's both, it means that everything that you do with this value need to be evaluated for all possible cut paths that you are defining. So that's where this idea of becomes interesting, because sometimes you will have one value and then it branches out. You have a bunch of possibilities, and like you create new possibilities, and then all of them generate new and new possibilities, like more and more possibilities.
So the idea of union types is that they represent the different possibilities in your code and the different possibilities that your code cares about on the type level. So, your code will be run at runtime and it could be run with lots of different values, but it's about this different multiverse of possibilities where every time you get called with a new value, it branches off in a different direction. And these branches can have more branches until you end up with a very complex web of different possibilities, and TypeScript can understand them all. It's very cool.